Hi class, this is course 2, lesson 54, rate word problems. Okay, so remember from lesson 53 we talked about how you can use a ratio box and proportions to solve when you're talking about ratios. Well, you can do the same thing when you're talking about rate word problems. And so it's just a nice tool, the ratio box is, to help you organize information and then write your proportion. So, if I drive, or if Mrs. Goss drives her car at an average speed of 55 miles per hour, how far can she drive in 4 hours? So here we're going to have a ratio box. Again, at this point we're going to have 2 rows and 2 columns with data in them, and we're going to have some labels. So we're going to have our rate, or our ratio, and then our actual amount. Or they might talk about case 1 and case 2. Okay, so if they give you a situation, what is the actual, or what is the rate going to be in a different situation? Now remember, when we're talking about rates, when we see the word per, that's the fraction bar. So if you look for the keyword per, that'll help you figure out what you're comparing. So we're comparing miles and hours. So we're going to put a label here that is miles and one that is hours, because that creates our fraction, miles over hours. And our rate here is 55 miles per hour. Now, there isn't a number here. It doesn't say in 3 hours or in 10 hours. It just says per hour. So 1 hour is how many hours it is. That 1 is implied. We just don't say things like per 1 hour. We just say per hour. So then the situation says, how far can I drive in 4 hours? So I know hours is 4, and how far, the miles, that's my x, my variable. And again, this is going to make a proportion. 55 over 1 is going to equal x over 4. Because, remember we talked about this, that we just make, these are fractions and they're proportional, so they have to be equal to each other. And we can cross multiply, so 55 times 4 is 20, carry the 2, 20 plus that 2 is 220, and then we would divide by 1, so there isn't anything to divide by, or it's not going to change our answer. So it's 220, and then how far, we're going to use the label miles. So Mrs. Goss can go 220 miles in 4 hours at a speed of 55 miles per hour. Okay, here's one with money and rates of pay. If Sylvia works 5 hours and earns a total of $37, what is her hourly rate of pay? Okay, so we're going to put in, we'll do case 1, case 2, and we'll put in our information that we know. We know that we're working 5 hours and we're earning $37, but they want to know your hourly rate of pay, and that's going to be dollars per hour. Okay, I know it says hours and then it says pay, but when we're talking about money and rates of pay, it's in dollars per hour. So this is going to be dollars and this will be hours. And in the situation that we're given, we know she works 5 hours and she gets paid $37. So we want to know her hourly rate of pay, but we have two boxes here. Well, remember, hourly rate of pay, it doesn't say how many hours, so that's your base rate or your unit rate. The unit rate will have 1 in the denominator. So we want to know, okay, if she makes $37 in 5 hours, how much does she make in 1 hour? And so again, we have a proportion, 37 over 5 equals x over 1. And we can cross multiply, so we'd get 37 times 1, and that equals 37, and then divide by the 5. Okay, so 5 will go into 37 7 times, and leave us 35. And now, we're talking money here, so you're not going to write a remainder. You're going to add zeros until we get past at least the hundredths place if it doesn't terminate. Otherwise, hopefully this will terminate or end nicely for us. And 5 will go into 24 times 20. That's even, but I do need that extra 0 there because she makes $7.40 per hour. That should be in there too. $7.40 per hour. That's her hourly rate of pay. $7.40. However, part 2 of the question is how much will she earn if she works 22 hours? So we could make another chart, dollars and hours, and we could have case 1, case 2, and we know that she makes $7.40 in 1 hour, so how much will she make in 22 hours? So we would just multiply 740 times 22, so 7.4 times 22. Now I dropped that 0 off on the end because it's a trailing 0 after a decimal, and so I can do that. It's not going to change my my answer. So 4 times 2 is 8, and 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 7 is 14. We're going to add those. 8, 2, 4, 5, 6, 1. And then we have 1 decimal place in our factor, so I need 1 decimal place in my product. And then, since we're talking about money, I need to add that 0 back because I need cents, right? I need 2 digits after the decimal for money. So she makes $162.80 in 22 hours. Okay, so that's another useful example of ratio boxes and what we can use them for. Hopefully with the rates it's not any more complicated than it was with ratios, but if you have questions, please let me know. I'll see you in class.